What's good, folks? Welcome to another episode of the Cover One Film Room, the show that gives you the hows and the whys behind both the good and the bad of the Buffalo Bills. This is a special pre-recorded edition of the Cover One Film Room. I am one of your two hosts, as always, Anthony Prohaska, joined by Erik Turner. And Erik, the reason this is a special edition, the reason this is a pre-recorded episode is because it's not just you and I in this episode. We are joined by a very, very special guest who is already on the screen. Erik, take it away. Who are we joined by today?
We have starting guard for the Buffalo Bills, O'Cyrus Torrence, in the film room with us this morning. And we're recording this on Monday morning. O'Cyrus, thanks for finally joining us in the film room. I know the schedules were kind of hectic. You're kind of end of your freedom in the offseason, man. Getting ready to go back to Western New York, man. How are things going?
Pretty good. I just want to say thank you all for having me on so you can kind of talk ball a little bit. But I enjoyed the whole season. Like you said, it is starting to kick back around to where we got to lock in again. So I go back to Buffalo later on this evening and kind of get situated there so we kind of start camp out. So it's been good, but it's time to get back to work now.
Yeah, you're close. Camp is kind of like a little under 2 weeks away, or a little over 2 weeks away. Or no, actually less than a week. Because, starting on the 24th, you head out on like 22nd, 23rd. Like you said, about to lock in, like you going into year two after a rookie year that saw you start every single game for the Buffalo Bills, like having a strong year for this team. Going into year two, what did you work on the most this offseason? Was there a specific aspect of your game? Was it something technique-wise? Was it something mental? Like, what did you focus, or it could have been multiple things? What did you focus on the most this offseason getting ready for year two?
Probably a lot of mental things because I knew last season that was like kind of one of my, I want to say weaknesses, but what was my strongest part of my game, like the mental aspect of the game, like staying locked in. Because like the NFL game I realized late in the season that the game isn't over until like the game is decided in the fourth quarter, so you can't get the halftime when you're up 2 touchdowns. Just kind of take a kind of relax. You gotta like stay locked in and like keep that same mental focus from the start of the game to the finish of the game. And I think that's one thing that I really thought about, like working on this whole season, like my mental focus and being able to stay ready like throughout the whole game, throughout the ups and the downs, and then just my condition part too, like make sure I can be good and in shape to be able to last in the game and play against like block these high caliber guys. So those are the main two things I worked on.
Nice. Now, when it comes to the mental side of the game, what were some things, maybe learning the new offense or even in game from drive to drive? Like, what were some things that helped you learn the offense? What are some things that helped you, maintain success throughout a game, or again, just learning the entire offense from your college to the NFL?
Really just it started like at practice. I started getting like the reps. Like as the reps started to play on and like kind of building up the muscle memory of my body, like helps me like kind of categorize each plays, each concept, and then just talking with the older guys and like kind of like learning the plays from them instead of just hearing it from coach and like hearing how they remember plays and things like that. And it kind of just helped me out. And I feel like that was like one of the things that helped me out the most. But the way I learned it from doing so, the best way is like all the walkthroughs we did and like not just looking at walkthrough, like it was just go ahead and just do it, like taking it like a real practice, but just walking through it. So taking things like those, like taking those type of settings more seriously, definitely helped me like catch on to the playbook fast.
Love that side of like the mental aspect is something we talk about at the show like all the time. Like obviously we're breaking down like X's and O's and scheme and structure and stuff, but the mental side is awesome. So it's awesome to hear you like talk about the importance of that and locking in and that being an adjustment for you getting into the league. From the physical side, as a rookie, you go from Louisiana Lafayette, you go to Florida, and then you go to the NFL. What was your, as a rookie last year, what was your biggest like physical adjustment? Like I feel like you always hear all the time as a rookie, like the speed of the NFL or like strength of dudes, but like you being in the trenches, was there anything like physically that you had to adjust to? Was it like, damn, like these dudes really are that fast, or their hand technique is really something? Is there something physically that was like the biggest adjustment for you to make from a lineman standpoint?
I'll probably say definitely with the technique of the defensive lineman that I played against was different. Like the way they use their hands and like just the how precise they was and like how it was more than just them firing off the ball and trying to get to the quarterback. It was like they playing against the guy in front of them. It's more technical. It's literally comparing like chess to checkers, I say, because it's like
Yeah.
they setting up the move, they setting up one move in the first quarter that they're gonna do like in the third quarter. And that's kind of what I learned, and I feel like that's probably was one of the bigger challenges. I feel like I came into the league pretty strong, so the strength part wasn't really the, that big of issue. It's more so like the technical part, like of guys being more technical when they hand placement and kind of a little bit with speed. But on our team, we practice against like guys like Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones, who like kind of
True.
real fast, and so I kind of
Yeah.
I kind of had to like pick up to the speed kind of fast on practice, with the strength and like the technical enhanced part kind of some of that stuff came a little more on later in the season.
Now, talking about, who you go up against each week, who are some guys that maybe gave you trouble last year in your first season in the NFL? Maybe the most difficult guys to block. Who stood out as someone like, okay, that's a wily veteran. He's tough for X reason. Like, who are some guys that you thought were just really, really stood out and really good last year that you had maybe some issues or you had some sparring back and forth between?
Um, three that comes to my mind is Dexter Lawrence, Chris Jones, and Christian Wilkins. Those three
Yeah.
guys probably like yeah. I played I played on Chris Jones and Wilkins twice last year, so
Mm-hmm.
both games was like a back and forth battle, honestly. And then Dexter Lawrence is just kind of like a mammoth of a man. Like it's kind of hard to move him and stop him from moving. But I feel like those probably like toughest like physical challenges throughout the league. Not counting like the battles we had in practice with the guys, but like in game and season, like those two guys play defense like stood out the most. Like top of my head, like how from just the physicality they bring and like their play style, like they know what they're good at and they're good at doing it.
It's funny to hear you say that someone was like a mountain of a man and strong and hard to move because you're a mountain of
Yeah.
a man. And it's funny too, to kind of give you a little insight. So we go to the Senior Bowl every year. We were at the Senior Bowl the year you were at the Senior Bowl, and we were on the field, literally like right behind you, maybe 5 feet, while you were doing individual work and one-on-ones against the defensive line on that first day. And we're both standing behind you, and like I tapped Erik because I saw like the 4XL label on your gloves. I was like, Torrence has 4XL large hands. Like we were just
Yeah.
talking about like you were just a monster of a dude. And then Erik actually caught up with you
Yeah. We got a
after. And
quick
we
interview.
were always talking about how it was fate that you were meant to like kind of come to the Bills because of him being able to get that interview with you. And you see some of the pieces up there, like Erik asked you like film study habits and different pieces. And with this like being the film room, kind of lead us into that. What are your film study habits? Like, did they change going from Florida coming into the league? Like, what are you studying about your opponents week in and week out? Is there something from a tell standpoint or a pattern standpoint? What are your film study habits look like now in the league?
It's definitely different from college. Honestly, in college, I would just kind of put on the film, just watch it, and like then I kind of just take notes as I went. But now, like I kind of like I break it down more like. The first day, I kind of like to watch the last few. Like if it's like middle of the season, I like to watch the last 2-3 games. Like just from start to finish a little bit, just to see like the difference how they play in the beginning of the game towards the end. Then like as the week kind of goes on, I kind of cut it out little by little because we practice so much, and then I feel like at some point, looking at a lot of film and then doing a lot of practice is gonna bring a lot of like mental overload. So in the beginning of the week on the off day, like I like to kind of watch at least 1 or 2 whole full games when I have time. And then as the week kind of goes on, I start off with just first and second down, seeing how they play. Then seeing like the third down packages, seeing if the D line like to stun a lot or if they like do man rushes and things like that. Then like towards the end of the season, like probably Friday or Saturday before the game, I like kind of just I look at like the fourth quarter and see like does players like do they still come hard in the fourth quarter? Like do they get tired? Are they big sub team? Kind of those type of things. I kind of like categorize it. I kind of learned doing that from like some of the older guys that was there last year. So this year I'm kind of do the same thing and might have switch it up a little bit, but that's kind of my starting point.
Awesome. So speaking of film, this is the film room. Let's jump into some of this film. We're gonna start with some of the run game stuff, O'Cyrus. I'm gonna bring it up here. Let me know. Make sure you can definitely see this screen. We can get this started here. All right. So we're gonna start with what a lot of people call dart, tackle, wrap. And when it came to this play, O'Cyrus, the Bills were the trendsetters. They're really on the one of the primary teams that ran this concept. You guys did a great job because you have tackles that can pull. So explain the tackle wrap, the dart, the differences between this and maybe your general A-gap power type run. Again, scheme, technique, assignment, whatever you want to talk about, man. Let's hash it out.
Yeah, this is our tackle pull. It's basically the tackle had an option to pull inside or outside, but before this play, our right tackle gave the left tackle the call to let him know that his DN is playing outside, so he most likely got to pull inside for his backer. And on the inside, we really just kind of got we got dual blocking, or you can kind of like gap scheme blocking, and you try to just climb up to the second level. Corners on the backside, he by himself with me and Mitch, and like a combo block we call. In college, you call it gang at the game, but now it's like just a gallop step where I just kind of go vertical and hit the hip and just like kind of help deliver him to the center, because I'm not trying to take over.
Right.
I'm trying to deliver him to the center and climb up to the backer. And the shoulder I'm aiming for is the shoulder I actually hit his right shoulder, because I don't want to cut him off. I want him to play over top and then push him past the play, because like it really widens up the hole better, kind of sort of like that.
I was gonna say this worked out like
It's
perfect
worked out
for
exactly
you.
how we throw it up. Yeah.
Yo, that was exactly it. Like this feed block, like you completely displace that one tack and just like all Morse has to do is like turn his feet and just seal, because you chuck him out of the club and then climb to that second level on David. When you climb to that second level, talk about that next block, right? So you talked about that feed piece where you're hitting that one tech on the outside shoulder. What are you looking to do when you get to that second level to that backside linebacker?
I'm looking to get my hat on his outside shoulder, so his right shoulder, so I can kind of like
right shoulder.
Okay. The other one, the right.
Other one, all right. Over
his
here.
right,
his right, yeah. His right. So I can kind of get good leverage on him to where like coach. I don't want to aim for the upfield shoulder, because he can like kind of cut the play under and like kind of blow it up. So if I miss aiming at the outside shoulder, I still be able to like push him out toward the play. So my basically job on him is like trying to climb up, get my hands on him, and just try to push him past the hole instead of stopping him from like going to the hole. That makes sense.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, and here's again another play with the tackle and wrap concept. Again, that feed block on more of that shade nose tackle, working to the next level. Now, how does that block at the second level change depending on the type of linebacker? Sometimes, like I think this is Isaiah Simmons, right? Ant? Like I mean, and the last one was White. Like those guys are fast flowing guys. Now, will that shoulder change if there's a guy that tends to slow play and doesn't play fast over the top?
My aiming point still is the same, but the only thing that changes is how long I'm gonna stay like connected to the block with my center. But my aiming point and everything still kind of stays the same, depending on like if the guy is slow or fast. It's just about like making sure I keep my eyes on him so I can come off when I see him like notice the pull, then play over top, because the linebackers are reading the tackles, and once they see the tackle pull, they're gonna flow over top anyway. So I'm already knowing that in my head.
Talk about that, like that timing of, so that first one against the first clip we showed against the Bucks, you completely displace the defensive tackle, like, and you're out to the second level climbing.
Yeah.
This one, you're on that block a little more with Mitch Morse. Talk about that, the timing piece in general of like those combo blocks or those double team blocks and then climbing to the second level. Talk about like the feel of it, the timing of it, because you have to pull off at the right time so that block at the first level is still secured, but that you're able to get your dude at the second level still.
Yeah, it's really about where your eyes are. Honestly, like the timing for me starts with my eyes and like keeping my eyes on my guy. I'm not right here. I'm not even looking at the D lineman. It's just like, because it's not my man. It's really the center's man. So I'm taking the whole time looking at the backer. So once I see him come up a little bit and stir his feet, and as I see him take off, that's when I go a little bit before him, because I mean he's a linebacker. He got the advantage of speed. So I gotta like kind of, soon I see him like trigger, that's when I come off. But when I seen him like kind of step up a little bit and play into the block, I knew I had time to like kind of finish delivering the D lineman over onto Mitch, and that's how I stay a little bit longer. But as soon as I see him trigger, like start chasing the ball, that's when I come off and meet him at the intersection and kind of try to drive him past or wherever.
Beautiful.
So on those first two plays, O'Cyrus, you had basically a shade nose tackle just outside the shoulder of the center. Well, this one against the Jags, you get a different alignment. Instead of that 4-3 over type look or over front, you kind of get a G front here with this defensive tackle now kicked out a little wider. so his alignment's different, and that can kind of change angles and obviously the block. So talk us through this same concept and how maybe your block changed on this, and then as the play developed, how you had to change your positional leverage here so that you could again execute that block against a defensive tackle.
Yeah. This one we actually kind of, I think this the second drive, or I think it's the first drive of the
Yeah.
game, but we kind of
Yeah,
caught
first
up,
second.
came up with this block like into like the first quarter because like they watched film, so they knew like what play we was running. So I had the kind of the job of not necessarily pin him inside, but like kind of stay with him. As soon as he make his decision on if you're gonna go inside or outside, that's when I turn my feet over and just run him and then just push him past wherever he's trying to go. Because it's like it's just too hard to try to get him right there and just drive him down. Because then he could just like put his body in the hole and put me in the other hole. Then it's like the running back only got one place to go. But if I stay head up on him and vertical and just keep my feet moving, as soon as he make a decision on which way you want to go, just take him that way, just push him past the point. That's kind of what we decided be the best course, and it worked out great actually.
Yeah, it did. Your feet are good on this play, obviously, like moving and being able to drive. Talk about your hand placement on this one, right into the chest, like right into the numbers of Fatukasi, like you get them locked in. Just talk about the importance of like your hands on this play, obviously being the control piece to go with your feet that are the drive piece.
Yeah, it's definitely important. Like my hands is like without getting my hands inside, I wouldn't even have control of the block and be able to do it. So like the first thing I think about is my first step down. My hand is going up as my first step like takes this like as I take my first step. So it's like once I get my hands inside, I got control. Now I can just kind of pull them into me and keep them tight. Then soon he turn or go whichever you go, that's when I can like kind of torque him and like use his momentum against him and use my little power, and like that combination kind of helps me get him out the way. Because once he turned to see the running back and try to make the play, like it's too hard for him to have to fight against my momentum and his momentum to stop going from the way I'm trying to take him once he decides to go that way. If that makes sense.
Once he commits to that spot, and you see it here, like his head is on your inside shoulder here, kind of
right now
watching
he
the running
reading.
backs.
Yeah.
Yep. And then
So
as soon as he go ahead, do it.
Yeah. As soon as he take that that step to go outside and like kind of lose ground, and I start pushing as you lose ground, it's kind of hard as a defensive lineman to stop somebody once they like start pushing you as you try to like recover and like lose ground and like switch over to a different gap, you know.
Yeah, it was a great read by you when it comes to that guy switching gaps and his eyes, but also by Dawkins on the pull as well. So you're saying in this game, this was kind of the approach that you guys took because you're expecting this type of alignment, or is this something that maybe you changed from drive to drive?
We changed it from because like they played it differently. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's the first or the second drive,
can't
but
remember,
I remember like I think I kind of just. I think if it was the first drive, I remember like it kind of just happened like this, and like because we practiced blocking like that a lot, so it kind of just happened like that. Now to sound, I told coach, he said just keep doing it like that. So whenever I get them head up, just kind of like let them go until you don't go and take them that way. And then we told Dion on the pool he got to get depth so he can kind of read it and read it out because the guys are playing one way, then as running back gets a line, they hurry up and play across the other way. So the running back got to cut it back last second. That's kind of the process going in. It's not as downhill as the other one was.
All right, so let's kind of switch concepts here. This is more of a zone type run, but I want you to talk about the relationship of these blocks, whether you're what Cromer talks about, what hand leverage, you're one guy getting hand leverage, one being the driver. On this play against the Patriots, you're kind of that driver. You're that one creating the displacement with Morse getting that hand leverage on the nose tackle. So talk about, that relationship when it comes to those kind of combination blocks. And again, Morse's assignment versus what yours is.
Yeah. Right now, I believe it's mid zone.
Is this? I was gonna ask you, is this zone or is this duo? That was really
that's what I'm trying to see. It looked like zone, but my footwork is saying duo.
Yeah, I assumed it was duo, just with the double tights here, the track of the running back and aiming point. It looked like duo to me, but it's kind of something that goes on social media. Like, is this inside zone or is this duo? So that's where I was kind of going with this.
I'm assuming it's duo because Dion and Connor, they not looking at the back up here, they looking at outside. Right. So I think we all kind of like down, like double team block it to our next man remove with backer. So I'm just really like that's Mitch's guy, so I'm just kind of coming in to help as I go up to my guy really, and like Mitch kind of takes over most of him, and I'm just aiming for the hip and kind
Yeah.
of just kind of displace him to get a running back a lane.
It's so funny because that was my my question was like, this is duo, right? Because it was throwing me for a loop. To talk about that a little bit more, like you even just in like this is a really good example, right? And talking like X's and O's and ball, like what honed you in on like breaking down if this was duo for you? Like what about your footwork? Talk about how your footwork is different and your movement is different on duo versus if it would have been zone.
Like in duo, I feel like I move like I step harder, like I move more power in the ground. Otherwise, with zone, it's more like you run mid zone, so it's like it's speed first, then power. For us to
Right.
duo, it's like I got to come off with power first on the down line, but then use my speed when it's time to get to the backer to like get my hands on them. Cause with duo, like like the running back, he's reading the backer with duo anyway, so we really got to make sure we handle the down man first,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of like gets the play started. Cause like in duo penetration can't kill it, but it can mess it up real bad. So
Mm.
my goal is to really just kind of displace the D lineman before I like even think about the backer. But my eyes is still on the backer, but we like to worry about the D lineman first.
Right, that first level is always the most important, and on this play, it's a very similar type thing, and again, that combination block this time between you and Spencer Brown, and this time you're kind of Mitch Morse's role, right? You're kind of getting that hand leverage, you're getting that help, and Brown
Yeah,
is that driver, kind of creating that displacement on this play.
yeah. And this right here, this our mid zone, so
Yeah, this is
it's
on.
mid zone to the left, and my job really is to kind of really trying to get both my hands to hit his inside shoulder, his right shoulder, my left,
Mhm.
and like trying to open up his arms, open it up so like to force the linebacker to come play his gap, and that gives the running back a cutback lane. But this guy's plays like whenever they play tight like this and I can't get the shoulder, we just talk to kind of like hit it and wash it down. And Spencer does a good job of just
Mhm.
giving me a little more momentum, like to keep him going instead of so you won't just play heavy in the backside, and I just use momentum against him, just kind of drives him past the hole and get a running back a cutback lane. Because what we kind of run mid zone is like we want it to hit front side, but we also block it to where it can hit backside.
And it typically
Mhm.
does cut it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for you guys. Just talk about in general, like run game philosophy stuff. Like how much does the run game like help you lock in? Do you prefer running like run blocking versus pass pro? I know like most linemen do. Most of the linemen we've had in the show with us usually give that answer, but like does running the ball, especially like early, does that help you and the offense kind of lock in, especially when you have reps like this where you create this kind of displacement and you're physically dominating? Does it help you kind of not just set the tone, but you kind of like and the group lock in to kind of feel like, yeah, we got this. We're controlling the game. Here we go from here.
Yeah, I definitely think it's like running the ball first. I feel like it definitely gives you the feel of like control, especially you get a good
Mhm.
35 or 6 yards, something like that, and just kind of
Mhm.
displace them and move them around like that. I definitely think that like gives the offense, and I know it gives us like momentum. Like we can, if we can do this all game, we're gonna be good. We just got to keep this pace going. So I feel like for us getting started with some good run plays and like getting some good yards and things like that, getting our hands on people definitely gets you like more into the game. Otherwise, with pass, I think. I mean, it's you can get your hands on the pass too, but you can't be as aggressive and like pass plays. The first like just the first pass, like the first play of the game is a pass. You can't be as aggressive as you could be with the first
Mhm.
play of the run, basically. So I feel
Yeah.
like for our position, just to get that aggression started early is key.
Yeah, and on this play, again, a run play, Spencer Brown helped you guys get the ball rolling, and yeah, stringing run plays together, it kind of breaks the morale of the defense, gets them a little tired. And, again, gets that ball rolling, gets that drive going. So with that said, we're gonna get to some pass game stuff, and what we want to focus on in this segment is anchoring and the different ways that you can anchor. And so obviously you showed multiple ways to anchor on film. Sometimes you can anchor with your hands, sometimes with your feet, sometimes with both, a little bit of everything. So we're going to start with this Eagles game. And I know Anthony and I, when we went back and watched your film, it was this game we had starred because we thought this was one of your better games this entire season against, again, elite level competition. As you said at the top, you faced some really good defensive tackles and defensive linemen this year. And this Eagles game was no different. So talk about this game. This is a play where, you saw Josh kind of break the pocket here, but it's a play that you kind of anchored with more of your hands than your lower body. So talk about this play from the Eagles.
Um, Yeah, this is our 6 man. Yeah, the running back's in this protection, 6 man protection, and basically we on the man side, so the running back got to he got the backer if he squeezes up and like plays the gap, and we would squeeze it if he were pre-showing it, but since he came from depth after the snap, we kind of just blocked our guys. Running back had to pick him up, but me, I'm playing to where I'm just kind of setting my feet, like keeping them, make sure I have a good stagger, but like my feet kind of wasn't like set by the time he made contact, so I kind of just had to grab with my hands and like kind of pull him into me and not let him extend his arm because Jalen Carter got some pretty long arms, especially when he extend himself. So
Yeah.
right now, like he's extending his arms, I'm trying to keep him inside me, like close, so he can't use all of his power. Because right now I'm on my heels now, so it's like I gotta lose ground gradually. If I kind of stand up, then I'm gonna get pushed back. So I gotta take a few steps back slowly. But as I do that, I'm also like pulling on his like shoulder pads, like to pull him into me and like put pressure on it so he can't just extend his hands and push me as easy want to. And since he's like head up to inside, I ain't really had to take a set for it. Kind of just set my feet and just
Yeah.
kind of like clamp and grab, and then kind of like get control from there.
So that was my question for you. Like, cause I've seen you do this. I saw you do it at Florida at times, but especially a lot like last year, like your ability to kind of get and use the verbiage I use all the time, like those clamp hands, you get them inside and then being able to kind of like arch your back and lift up to kind of stall that momentum for the defensive tackle or defensive lineman, kind of take away that leverage. How much of a go-to is that for you? Is that something like you consciously do, like in the moment? If a dude is getting into your chest at that point, you're just like, okay, here we go. Let me get those hands inside. Let me arc up and kind of take away what he's working with.
Honestly, it was just like an instinct thing I was doing until I was talking about when I seen it on film. My coach told me just like he seen me do it against somebody, then he seen me like it was another game against the Jets, and they put their DN at linebacker, and they put their DN at tackle, and he's standing up, and instead of like just sitting on him like a regular guy, he said just sit him out and just clamp, let him rush you, let him rush because he's not gonna push you back because not a smaller DN, but he's just not as big as the D tackles in there, so I can handle it if he just push me in my chest. So once I got down to the thinking of just if I know he can't bull rush me as fast, or if I can take his bull rush the first 2 steps, I can just clamp and grab it, make sure my hands get on him instead of punching and shooting and risking, him knocking one down and then having to recover and fight that battle. I can just finish it from the jump if I just clamp and grab and just hold and just sit there. So once I like got good at doing it and noticing I could do that, like once I watch film, I kind of start picking out like those things, like could I do this to this guy, or should I be able to do this move with this, that? So that's one of the things that I kind of picked up on midway through the season that I didn't even know I was doing early in the season, you know.
And that's such a good, like, I feel like that's a specific thing to you because of your size and your frame and your hand strength. Like you can let dudes kind of get into you a little bit, especially smaller dudes, because like, nah, you're not getting through me. So come on, get close. And then once I get my hands on you, I can lift and you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that grip strength plays a huge role. And I'm glad you said that, having different tools in the toolbox to defeat, especially power moves. You heard Teron Armstead talk about it on social media at O-line Masterminds that the most pass rush move, the one that's used the most often is a bull rush move, is a power move. So having those tools to kind of combat that is incredibly important. You saw it and that one with more of the hands and lifting up the leverage and taking away that center of gravity and that power that he had because of the positional leverage inside and you having to recover, but that anchor recovery and using your hands on that play was important. On this one, you kind of use more of your lower body here. Again, against the Eagles, you're kicking out wide to Jalen Carter. And then once again, you see this one, you see the lower body play in here. You're dropping your hips. You got that ankle flexibility. I mean, look at the bend there, that power, that lower body and that core did a great job of anchoring there versus Carter. So talk about, this play. And also I want to add in like what is the outside hand right there, that drag hand, what purpose does that serve when you're kicking out wide to a wide alignment?
I'm just really sitting outside. I'm really sitting to pass off a game. Like whenever I get a wide at the end, my goals things set flat because I play a lot of teams that have rushed me. Then as soon as I get there, like get off levels of the tackle, they just run into the tackle's hip, and now it's like now you basically like y'all done for that play. So I'm kind of sitting flat. And I just use my outside hand to like kind of keep me flat. And, like that's kind of how I practice, so it keeps me flat and like helps me like get to him quicker. And it kind of like if I'm sitting flat and my hands up, it kind of just runs right into like where I want to
Yeah.
place it at. As soon as I get in like arm's length, I kind of just grab and get my hands on the inside. And once I feel I got my hands on the inside, that's when I like can get ready to get my feet ready to just throw them back and do one hop step or two, and that's usually enough to like kind of get me in the ground. And it worked perfectly this play. Then I knew what Josh was because it was a 5-man, and then I knew it was like he was a gun, so he wasn't gonna be like close in the pocket. Like you can kind of tell like how where Josh had in the pocket by how they're rushing. So I knew I had the space and the time to like actually get a good hop back and stop the bull rush.
I love that right hand placement. Like initially, like once you get that feel, and then you quickly just bring it in and fit it and clamp it right on the numbers, like right on that shoulder pad, pec area to give you that control.
Yeah.
So I love that piece. Talk about, I guess, too, like Jalen Carter, a dude you faced in college the year before, going into this game, and then even as the game went on, like how much of your previous experience against him was in your mind for game plan for this game, whether in game or the prep for it? Or do you kind of just like throw out, forget who he was at Georgia, forget who I was at Florida, it's different now? Or do you take into account your previous matchup when doing the prep work for this game and then going through the game?
I kind of just I didn't worry about how I went in college because honestly, when I played him in college, I wasn't. I was coming off an injury, so I wasn't like 100% when I played him, and I could tell like we both like have gotten better like from that to then, and like our technique and stuff. So I kind of didn't think about too much of how I did in college, and it was more so like this season just looked at like a new player, but he's good and real good. So going into the game, I knew that I was gonna get some I knew that it was gonna be on my side, like going to get some, and it was kind of rotating him and Cox the whole time. So it's kind of a challenge to switch my mindsets when I had him and
Yeah.
Cox, especially because they both good, but they both play different. Like they're both big and strong, but they play different. Like Jalen's handsy, like he's good with his hands. He's trying to get to your edge and go back inside. Like with Cox, he's trying to hump you. He's trying to go through you. It's like he got
He did
super
that a bunch of
technique.
times against you, right?
Yeah, like he got me 2 good times, and the only way he didn't get the sack because Josh threw the ball. And then
Got rid of it. The one
yeah,
where you're
so
backed up in your end zone. I
yeah,
remember
he
that one. That one
got me
comes to mind.
good with that one. But
This battle though between you and Carter was phenomenal too, because you guys both
yeah,
had your wins, right?
yeah,
That's why we always point to this game, because we get to see, as film junkies, we get to see kind of how you overcome your prior loss. You're gonna lose reps in games, how you overcome it, and like you said,
yeah,
change things drive to drive. So on this play, I love it versus Carter because you kind of have both. You have your hands in good placement, the center of gravity is dropped, your hips are dropped, and then you kind of anchor again, with your lower body. But talk about how important you kind of mentioned with Josh, and what type of pass matters to to your pass set. For example, this is kind of more of like a quick game. How does that affect maybe your approach to the play versus Carter? But also how again you're approaching the play post snap, and again recovering or whatever plan you have versus that pass rusher.
yeah. So since it's quick game, I don't want to set back and make it faster. Like give him like more like let me try
Right.
to give him more time to get his feet steps in and like get me pushed back. So I'm just really setting on the line. Like I'm not even setting back. I'm picking my
Yeah.
feet up, put him down because he's ahead of me, and like he's playing me. He's not looking at the tackle. He's looking dead at me. So I'm like either he's gonna try to go through me. He's gonna try to go to my outside shoulder, and that's kind of where my mindset was when the play started. And knowing that it's a quick game, I was just thinking, get my hands, clamp them, and refit them inside as I slowly lose ground. And once I get my hands inside, I think I'll take one big hop step back and just stop this momentum altogether. That's kind of my mindset. That's what I wanted to do and was able to do it that play.
It's funny you mentioning like kind of Carter's go-to moves, like trying to like get that shoulder and then cut back inside, because there's another rep in this game where he goes for that and you're right on him. It's almost like you anticipate that move coming and when it's about to happen. So I love that little detail piece that you had there. Just for blocking for a dude like Allen in general, who has that mobility, who kind of creates off script, can kind of make your life a little difficult for you at times because how he kind of sometimes creates chaos or navigates it. Talk about what it's like just blocking for a dude with that type of mobility and athleticism where, because again, here, this could be quick game and ball's supposed to come out. And the next thing you know, Josh could be escaping out the back door and doing something with his legs or his arm off script. Just talk about kind of navigating that world for a quarterback who can do it with his legs and make things happen off script like Allen.
Um, it it was definitely like I want to say difficult at first, but it was just something I was kind of used to because the guys I played in college, from Anthony Richardson and Levi
Mm-hmm.
Lewis, they both was kind of similar. Like they would take the ball and like make the plays their own feet, and like it's a good and a bad thing if you know how to block for it. And the way Chrome coaches us, he coaches us like a 60-40 technique. So if the guy cross my face, I don't have to like power set down and stay flat. I can kind of just flip my hand, just run up past the quarterback. Because if I do that, Josh was like gonna take the gap and run off anyway. So we just kind of had to switch our blocking scheme up for him. So like I got used to knowing like how this guy's rushing. Like if Josh sitting in the pocket or if Josh taking off. Like if he's still rushing down the middle of me or still trying to get to one of my edges, Josh most likely still behind me. But if he's like not rushing me, trying to get away from me a little bit, I mean Josh is kind of like bouncing around. He's finna take off. So I got kind of used to that feeling, and it helped me out like later in the season and even in the game. So it was definitely something I was kind of used to, which helped me out a lot. But it just was a little bit different because like how the guys in the league like kind of react to it otherwise compared to college, you know.
Mm.
It, and I'm glad you mentioned like how things are compared to college. Now, what are some ways that maybe change from college to the NFL? How defenders, pass rushers attacked you? Were there some things that came up through the season that you maybe had to throw, put a little extra time in with Cromer and the staff to kind of come up with a plan or a counter on how teams were attacking you, whether it was just you personally or, between games and stunts between you and Spencer Brown? What were some things that in season came up that, hey, each week these teams and these pass rushers are attacking us this certain way or attacking you a certain way? What were some things that came up during the season?
Just trying not to like early in the season. I think like toward the like game 6 or 7, just trying not to block like how I see guys blocking guys on film, or even guys in practice. Like not trying to block how I'm like trying to play my style of ball. Basically, like not trying to block in like learning how I should play and how I should block. Like how I'm building, like being able to like most guys, like you say, isn't able to just sit their feet and grab and like refit their hands, like stop brewers like that. But I was. Some guys who are smaller, they would have to like jump set them in a sense, and like it works for them, but it won't work for me because I'm not
Right.
as fast on my feet. Like they can kind of like take one step D lineman and like kind of get to my edge. That's how I gave up a sack against Broadmoor and on the New England game we first played on. Like he was head up, and instead of me just doing my regular pick my feet up, put it down, I gained ground actually, and they gave him a short edge to get to my shoulder and get around me. For us, like later on in the season, I was just somebody head up. I'm just gonna pick my feet up and just do a wide clamp and then just force them to go down the middle, man. And even if they do push him back, I feel like I'm strong enough to give them Josh enough time to make a decision before they get back there to him, you know.
Very nice. One last question for you. You mentioned it briefly in one of the Carter clips we showed. Kind of staying flat. You talked about the 2-man game aspect. I noticed that a lot, like on the tape last year. It felt like as the season progressed, especially I feel like the back half of the year, like felt like you and Spencer Brown were getting hit with a lot of like games and twists and stunts and all that kind of stuff. As that started to happen, you spoke about it a little bit. Just talk about what your adjustment was. Like, obviously, it was something you guys noticed and you felt and you were trying to course correct for. Just talk about how that came about and what your adjustment was for all those 2-man games you guys were seeing on the right side of the line.
It was more so of me being like confident in my flat set because Spencer, he kind of the like all I need the tackle to do is set vertical, and most of the time the tackles are already setting vertical unless we call like unless we decide to jump it or something like that, we give a call or something. But if it's a regular man size set, it was mostly on me to get used to and get comfortable with setting flat and knowing that if this guy do try to go back inside, I got the 60-40 move like I used to push him past the quarterback because really I'm nervous. Not nervous, just as offensive lineman, you don't like that feeling of sitting flat, then open up the inside to get somebody to
Yeah.
route to go inside.
Yeah.
So you need to have like a plan for that. So once I practiced and got that move set down and had a plan for that, I was more confident in my flat set to just go out there firm and get my hands on them and deliver them to the tackle. And whereas if he go inside, or if he try to go inside me, then I can take it with me. Or if he goes and plays tackle and I get a good push out, and at the end come back around, like it just made it more. I say more. It gave me more confidence in the sets and stuff like that. So I think that's what helped out. Like me and Spence, like late in the season, like it's our communication and that relationship we built from playing all year and just being able to know how we play. And once I got that down, I think it helped out a lot.
Yeah, you can see it kind of take over once you saw like that period where there was like adjustment or you guys starting to work things through and then seeing kind of how it followed through as the season progressed. So yeah, that's awesome insight. And this episode in general, the insight you offered, we greatly appreciated, O'Cyrus. We appreciate you taking the time, especially now, like as we're talking on the beginning, like kind of a little over a week away from camp starting. This is your last little bit of freedom before you lock in for the rest of the year here towards playing ball. So we appreciate you again taking the time,
100%.
sitting down with us, and offering the insight and the knowledge and the technique that you have. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for being here, and that'll do it for us here in this episode of the Cover One Film Room. Folks watching, drop the like button, rate and review and subscribe, all that stuff. Tell your family and friends and loved ones about how phenomenal this show is and how phenomenal O'Cyrus Torrence is.
Yeah, go get his jersey right now. Go get
his jersey, buy his jersey, get it right now.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, hell yeah. And we wish you the best of luck in this upcoming season. Like we were, again, like we said earlier, like we were pumped when you got drafted because we were legitimately, actually, we were one of our last nights there was it was a Wednesday. I forget what seafood spot we were at. You were having dinner with a team behind us, and we were sitting there talking like, man, Torrence has been.
We keep bumping into him too, like everywhere.
And we were like, he's having like a really good year.
That was a busy week,
yeah. I'm sure it was a whirlwind.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And we just kept talking about, and we were like, oh well, like where they're gonna have to take him in the first, like he's not gonna last in the second.
That was a talk that week too. Like everyone had you going in the end of the first round there, so like the Bills were one of those main teams, and we're like, it's bound to happen. And eventually, of course, it didn't happen that way exactly, but I think you landed exactly where you needed to be, man, with the Bills in Western New York. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I think during the draft, like just watching it and then seeing like how it was playing out, I think towards the end I was like, I probably wouldn't. I didn't think I wasn't going to first, but I was like thinking like at this point, like once that first day got out the way, it was easy to watch the draft because everybody watching that first day just got all the nerves and stuff. So once I got that first day out the way, I was really excited for the second. I'm like, I know the taste today now. I'm like, so it's all about the time. Like, what team gonna call me and win? So I definitely think it all happens for a good reason. So I'm not. I just needed to get the opportunity to get on the field and just show what I could do and just kind of like build a name for myself with a team.
And you did. You played damn near every snap. Like you definitely got your opportunity and you locked it down. You clamped it down just like you did in pass pro.
Yeah, hell yeah. Right from day one in camp. And so we were just pumped when you got drafted and to see kind of your journey in year one and then be able to sit down with you now as you go into your journey for year two. We wish you all the best. Thank you for taking the time with us. And again, folks, that'll do it for us in this episode of the Cover One Film Room. Rate, review, subscribe, like, go buy O'Cyrus Torrence's jersey and all that kind of stuff. We will see you next week for another episode of the Film Room. And until then, we hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.